It seems that Pakistani officials are putting out stories and I guess confirming that a smaller delegation of Iranian officials are arriving tonight in Islamabad, led by the foreign minister, Mr. Arakchi. Not clear who else is coming, but there seems to be all sorts of talk about how US security people are there as well. So who knows what is going on and at what level. Um, Talks may be happening, but it seems that because the news is appearing as a headline in the major newspapers, English language newspaper Dawn, that there might be something to it. So, one always needs to wait for these kinds of confirmations before believing anything. So let's see. But of course, the news is appearing at 8 o'clock in the morning, just before the market opens. We don't know how the market is going to react to that, but that is the news coming out of straight out of Pakistan, and it is in the newspapers. So let us see. The State Department put out its legal talking points on this war. Obviously, they feel they have a need to justify it. Operation Epic Fury and international law. Clearly, the United States and the State Department and Marco Rubio are feeling they need to address international law. I don't recall them actually caring about international law, but suddenly they do. So there might be some liability that is bubbling up in their mind. So what is the State Department saying? As the United States has explained in multiple letters to the UN Security Council, including most recently on March 10th, the United States is engaged in this conflict at the request of and in the collective self-defense of its Israeli ally. Let me read that again. The United States is engaged in this conflict at the request of and in the collective self-defense of its Israeli ally, as well as in the exercise of the United States' own inherent right of self-defense. Did we get that? It's in writing now. At the request of Israeli ally. As I've been saying, watch what they do, not what they say. UK's foreign minister has been waxing poetic about international law, following international law, and how that's going to be a priority for the Starmer government. Watch what they do. The UK has gutted the office which monitors violations of international law in Gaza and Lebanon. Violations of international law by Israel, because they are the occupying power. They have just gutted that office. What do you say? What I will say is, yesterday I said monsters are stalking us. I would add Keir Starmer into that bucket of monsters, because in the last 2.5 years, he has become a ghoul. And this move is utterly cynical and monstrous. So, Donald Trump has been having a normal one. Let's see what he was doing last night. Somebody has documented it. At 2:18 a.m., he demanded that Chuck Schumer resign. At 12:18 a.m. At 12:19 a.m., he posted a tweet saying Obama tried to overthrow the government in 2016. At 12:22 a.m., he reposts a statement from Mike Lee calling for a filibuster to be removed. At 12:27 a.m., he posts a conspiracy video alleging Obama and Hillary Clinton committed treason. At 12:27 a.m., he posts a tweet from a MAGA account calling for Obama and Clinton to be arrested for treason. At 12:28 a.m., another post calling for treason charges against Obama and Clinton. At 12:29 a.m., he posts an AI image of a man holding a sign. At 1:13 a.m., demands the 2020 election be wiped from the books and be of no further force or effect. At 2:43 a.m., he posts about Clint Eastwood complimenting him. At 2:44 a.m., he posts about Elon Musk calling the Southern Poverty Law Center a scam. At 2:45 a.m., he posts about a far-right podcast. Somewhere there, he also posts an insulting or reposts something terribly insulting about India being a hellhole country. Then there is the Pentagon that is posting, or internal emails, about how to punish NATO members who didn't come to the aid of Trump in this illegal war. So, suspending Spain from the NATO alliance, reassessing US diplomatic support for European imperial possessions to include the Falkland Islands near Argentina, suspending difficult countries from important or prestigious positions at NATO. Meanwhile, discussing and considering a swap line to the UAE. Is that connected to massive corruption? Yes, it is. The UAE, in various forms, has invested in Trump-aligned businesses. Geeta Gopinath, who was the chief economist for the IMF, is posting, the UAE exploring a swap line with the US should give us pause that the consequences of the Iran conflict are far greater than what we priced in the markets. Such explorations do not arise lightly, even behind closed doors. The US is compelled, or rather Trump is compelled to do this because of the intertwined business interests that the UAE has with the Trump family. The corruption that is now being talked about openly on the media is so much that it's hard to capture. But once again, it's important to try. Trump's son, Eric Trump, yesterday on Fox News, blatantly announced a contract with the Pentagon. And he was congratulated by Maria Bartiromo, whatever her name is. Congratulations, she squeaked. Don Jr. and Eric Trump have interest in a drone interceptor company that they're running around the Middle East selling to GCC countries to prevent drone attacks from Iran that are happening because their father started an illegal war with Iran. These are not people who have any interest in stopping the war because they're making so much money off of the war. This is war profiteering. Donald Trump's son-in-law, Kushner, who is his special envoy, not a government employee, so he doesn't have to disclose too much. How convenient. The guy who's negotiating, supposedly, a ceasefire with Iran, has oodles of money from the GCC countries in his private equity affinity partners investment firm, private equity firm. He claims that he's no longer raising that money. Really? How do we know? Apparently, according to MS Now, he himself has earned $100 million, I guess from the 2 and 20 fee structure, However, the Saudis, who gave him $2 billion, have not reaped any benefits from their investment in his private equity. It was a payoff. It was sheer corruption. It was not meant to earn revenue or a great investment, because the Saudis actually had rejected this investment, but MBS pushed it through. Why? Because he was currying favor with the Trump family. It hasn't really paid off, has it? Let's not forget that Trump Jr. has interests in Polymarket, which is making some dodgy trades, dodgy bets on the Iran war and the price of oil and everything related to the war. Let us not forget that Trump is suing the Treasury for $10 billion. Let us not forget that lawsuits have become a way for corruption and payoffs. The DOJ is paying off the likes of Michael Flynn and others who have been convicted of crimes by the DOJ. It is just one big grift and corruption. The corruption right now in DC and from DC is absolutely staggering. So that is sort of a roundup of what is happening today. Let us monitor to see if in fact the Iranian delegation does arrive, or was this just a market-moving piece of information being put out? Donald Trump is spiraling. His poll numbers are so low, so in the tank, that it's going to be very hard to crawl out of it. And Republicans are starting to get super worried whether they're able to break away or stop the nonsense or stop this horrendous war or stop the blockade, end this blockade. I think Trump is betting on the fact, oh yes, yesterday he said the Vietnam War lasted 18 years, so why are you rushing me to end the blockade or end the situation in Iran? Vietnam was a complete disaster for America. America lost the Vietnam War. Tens of thousands of Americans died and were wounded, and not to mention how many Vietnamese. But America lost that war, and it shook up America for decades. Decades. So there you have it, folks. Is Trump planning to wait 18 years to end this war with Iran? Let us see.